Is the sky falling for Warhammer The Old World? Is it out of fashion now? Is it too complicated? You can't get any new people involved. Do we need a version 2? Yes, but hey, let's be honest. I love the game. We all love the game. That's why you're watching this video. Do I really think it's as atrocious as maybe what the title says? No, but I do think with everything we've seen over the past, well, nearly 2 years now, we are getting to the point where we probably need to be starting to think about what is going to come in version 2. And so this video, hopefully Games Workshop listen, and these are my top 7 reasons why I think we need a version 2 of Warhammer The Old World. So welcome back to Old World Fanatics. I'm Gommo. I'm just here to run through my 7 ideas or things I want to see in a version 2, or why I should say we probably need a version 2. Actually, if you know me as well, obviously Old World Fanatics channel, we love Old World. I love Old World. I keep playing it. It's technically there's nothing wrong with it. The game is solid. But after 2 years and the massive amount of releases we've been getting, which is awesome, you know, there is some bits around the edges, I'm sure. And so I wanted to sort of collect that all up, as well as we just got some more common magic items in the latest Arcane Journal. We haven't seen a balance pack or errata yet, but we have been told it's coming in January 2026, which technically is expected because they've already said it's coming every 6 months. So, you know, before that falls and see what it does, I just wanted to throw out some ideas. Please like, subscribe as usual, but leave your suggestions. What did I get right? What did I miss? What total other things you want to see, or reasons why we should be thinking forward to a version 2, and hopefully it sort of cleans up the rough edges, so to speak. So without further ado, I might as well get into it because I don't want to be here all day. How do I do that? I've got to click a button. So we need a second edition. Now I titled this. So basically, my first thing is just rule complexity. And it's not even, Old World's always going to be complex. Warhammer, that's what we love about Warhammer Fantasy. We don't want it slimmed down to sort of just data sheets and all just keywords, or you know, we like the complexity of building an army list and, you know, what do you call nuts and bolting over the single point that you're trying to get, and dropping this item and adding that and all that sort of stuff. We want to spend all night thinking, laying awake, trying to work out what little, you know, edge case we can pull out of the rules. You know, I mean, obviously, if you think about competitive play, so we don't want that gone. But when I say rule complexity, everyone agrees probably that when we first picked up that big, beautiful blue book, BBBB, actually looked quite well laid out, and I think that was some of the comments initially as well. But once you start to get into it, I don't know if there's any people who grew up religious, but it's like reading a religious tome. Like, you have to go from one point to the other point to the other point. It's a little bit like that, and bits contradict and all that sort of stuff. It's turned into a bit of a mess. On top of that, I think you can sort of tell that things changed sometimes, but then they didn't update the rule words. So it became a little bit of a mess. For me, things like, it's obvious, even things like they're just hard to remember. There's so many rules. Don't put things to do with like move or shoot, move and shoot. But then move and shoot technically means that you can march and shoot. Is that what it is? Or move? It's one of, like, one's to do with marching, not really to do with moving, but it's called move and shoot. Which, you know, just spell it out, write the rule clear, so when you read the rule, you probably know what it is. And on top of that, and I've covered myself up here, but disordered charge, disrupted charge, I don't know. If I asked you which each one of them is, I bet you 50% of you or more get it wrong. I'll get it wrong because I can never bloody remember, because you've just chosen to make 2 rules totally different and almost use the same sort of words, which is sort of a bit crazy. So I think if they can fix that stuff up, it would clean up that sort of advanced rules, make it a lot easier to get your head around. And really, you know, the game is growing hugely. So, you know, as more people come in, if you haven't been here since the start, oh God, it'd be you know, be a very dense tome, and we'll get to that in a minute, to get into this game. On top of that, I think they've been trying to patch stuff so much, like close order bonus type thing it's just a mess now, because, you know, you got Horde to sort of overcome this, and then you got all these new infantry things, and I don't know, like, what does close order do now? Like, does it give you a +1? Most of the time it doesn't do anything. Yeah, it's just bizarre. Like, so it's just one of those things that I think now that they have another take on it, hopefully they go through it a little bit cleaner and just fix up those rules. And I'll implore them again, if you're listening, Games Workshop, you've already done 8 versions of this before that. Please leverage it. Please leverage the stuff that um, is worked before. Don't just always reinvent it for the purpose of reinventing it. It just confuses everyone. Anyway, that's my take on that one. The magic system. Oh, I mean, Warhammer is all about magic. I think they've done some good things here, and I'm not at all saying it needs to go back to like an 8th or a 6th edition magic, because to be honest, it probably doesn't need to. My issue is between when it came out to when it is patched, it's either been, and this is probably true a lot of the times with their magic systems, it's either like over the top or it's useless. It feels that way. And then when they've tried to errata it and stuff, the spells have ended up to the point where there's only maybe 2 to 3 good spells out of the 7 in a deck. And I just think it just becomes a bit bland, and I think they need to, step back a little bit and look at those, try come up with spells that are a little like, there should be at least 5. There should be, all the spells should be good. I'm not saying overpowered, but there's some in there that are just stinkers, and so, yeah, just a revisit of that. But at the same time, they need to find a way to not make it, I don't know if it's boring, because you always roll on the 2d6. I don't think that's that bad. But certainly I'm finding it's probably in conjunction with the FAQ errataing that they've made this spell system be a little bit like, yeah, you have to have a level 4, and now a lot of armies can get away without it, and it just goes to magic res. And so I feel like it's just very much a rule of extremes, and I'd really like to see it come in together. I'll just say this. I've put the 8 Winds of Magic, and people have probably heard me gripe about this, that just because we're in the old world 200 years before the current, or the old, the end time era, doesn't mean the 8 Winds of Magic aren't there. And so I don't understand why they stripped it away just to like battle magic and stuff like that, when it's, like Empire didn't rule it. So I don't understand why you still couldn't have some of those proper 8 wins, but maybe they're just called something different. And Empire maybe they don't get access to those ones. They get access to like, a mishmash one like Battle Magic or Demonology or something. But you definitely still have some of those other ones that are very much, especially with elves and things and chaos, they know what the wins are. Like, it's only 200 years ago. Come on, they got taught by it. So I think even the lore of what they've tried to do here with Old World, I don't know, to me it missed the boat. So hopefully they can, especially the lore system, the spells in it, they can sort of fix up and come up with a way that it's still easy to use, but it doesn't either end up totally over the top or totally underpowered. I will say that I'm not advocating purely for a return to the magic phase. I actually don't mind that it's throughout the whole game, because I think we predicted this at the beginning, that this will hopefully mean it's sort of, the whole game feels a little bit more fantastical and magical, and not just like shooting, magic, movement. It's like, movement, shooting, fighting, sorry, but magic's involved in all of it. I actually like that. So there's definitely some hits that they did here. Just hopefully with a V2, they can make the spell system a bit more useful for the whole thing, and not just like, Demonology's got these 2 good spells, and, Elementalism's got these 3 good ones, and whatever, that's my biggest gripe. Legacy factions. Okay. I mean, this has to stop, Games Workshop. I mean, whatever you're trying to do here, bring them back. I mean, they're the heart of Warhammer. Vampires, vampire counts in Skaven for sure. Demons as well. I mean, you need to. So I'm just going to have a drink here. You need to bring them back here. It's just inexcusable, and you need to fix this stuff. And to be honest, I don't think it's ever going to reach its peak, what it should be, and what it would be with the people who would come and play until you fix it. And on top of that, I don't think the community is going to accept it. It's always going to be there. Legacy will always be there. You can see here in terms of faction tournament appearance from Old World rankings that, okay, yeah, most of those ones, except for like, I think it's the light cyan one, which is Cathay, because it's new. you know, they definitely have the lowest attendances. But it's not because, you know, if you can see my mouse, it's not really because their legacy, it's because they're being ignored and the rules are crap. And obviously Renegade fixes that a little bit. I think it's this one up here. Sorry. Yeah, it is. That's vampire counts. So, you know, give them good rules and they can compete with the other factions. You know, if Vampire Counts was a supported faction and it was as good as it is, it would be even further up that list, no doubt about it. So to me, it's not an issue that if Games Workshop leave them behind, they won't be played. It's the rules that screw people around. And I don't believe, from all the stats I've seen, all the tournaments around the world, the only ones that don't allow them at Games Workshop, and there might be like 10 of those tournaments, for example, out of the thousands that, for example, Old World Rankings tracks. So as long as the community, we keep pushing and we keep them alive and we keep using them, they have to bring them back. And so just sort it out, Games Workshop. I mean, look how big a chunk of the pie it is, and that's a lot of dollar signs there. So yeah, I don't know, probably don't have to harp too much more on legacy, but yeah, that's needs to be fixed. I guess the other thing, and this is just a shame because yeah, once Ogres came out was that 6th ed, but as 8th came along and Monstrous Cav and Monstrous Infantry became much more a part of the game, especially Monstrous Cav, which wasn't even in the older editions. But, you know, I just think it made 8th edition games look cool. I had a variety of cavalry, infantry, Monstrous Cav, all that sort of stuff. Maybe not as many dragons and monsters as you'd like to see, but we've got enough of them in Old World now. But in this version of the game, and the way, you know, infantry was useless and now infantry is the only good thing. Well, technically, I'm playing extremes here, people. It just seems like Monstrous Cav and infantry have been left behind again, you know, and they need to do something about it. And maybe, for example, with infantry, it's as easy as, and sorry, Cav, make Monstrous have a stomps are awesome. They're probably overpowered, obviously, with dragons. The one stomp's not really overpowered. You look at dragon ogres, which again, they're not actually monstrous, I don't think. They're just cavalry, but might be wrong there. But they're awesome. 2 stomps each. They're actually very dependable. And they got 4 wounds. And yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say every monstrous cav unit needs to be dragon ogres, because they are probably, you know, they're top tier. They even put the points up. But they're a good example that if the rules fit, they're actually quite usable. And so I feel like that little tweaking there, here or there. Infantry probably need a stomp, and then obviously the infantry bonuses, like renegades get that with ogres. Maybe Monstrous Cav just need, I don't know, bump them to 4 wounds. You give them 4 wounds, they're so much more reliable. Suddenly they're good. Maybe that's overpowered. If it is, maybe probably points can fix Monstrous Cav. But yeah, and they probably need a little bit more access to Swift Stride. If they don't get them, some do. But yeah, so I just think you want to see more of them on the table. They look cool. And there's cool figures out there for them. So hopefully that will factor in when they redo version 2. And I've probably been saying this throughout this whole thing, because this is probably what causes most of the imbalances and the confusions. And the hard thing about this game is Games Workshop's inability to learn science. And that is change one thing and just change one thing. Don't change 3 things to try to fix something, because you'll bugger it up. And that's exactly what they do. We saw the Sisters of the Thorn nerf. Okay, the problem wasn't Sisters of the Thorn. The problem isn't that they can choose any spell from Battle Magic or whatever it was. The problem isn't that you can direct the Pillar of Fire spell. That's not the problem. The problem is you can put 5 of them on the bloody board. That's the problem. You bring it down to 1, you can only put 1 template, like the same template instance on the board at once. Suddenly it's not so bad. And yeah, they've obviously coupled it in with things like dispelling it, dispel at the template level or distance, sorry, not where the wizard is. Suddenly it's not so broken. Right now you don't see Sister of the Thorn. There's a few people I know play them, but it again, you nerfed, you know, you made them go random. You made them you made the Sister of the Thorn pick at random. You made the spell go random. You allowed people to dispel templates to the template. You did 3 changes. I'm probably missing another one there. No wonder the thing goes from top tier to the bottom. It's just ridiculous. Poison attack, same thing. You go and change a rule. I'm on a rant here. That has been in the game forever and is not a problem. Even shooting at large targets wasn't a problem in 6. And then you just nerfed poison, large target attacks. And then you obviously nerfed the, which you probably should have, the template spell. Sorry, the, what's it called? The mystical pathways spell. So again, 3 things to combat one issue. And I'm not saying you pulled poison attacks out of the game, but you made it way more complicated and effectively did start pulling it out. Like sometimes it was quite useful to put poison attacks on an infantry unit. Now you're like, do I really just need the +2 to wound? Maybe. Like, again, stop doing 3 things when one thing will do and then see how it goes. You did it once. Well, at least early in the game, you sort of nerfed fanatics. And how did you nerf fanatics? Okay, you did do 2 things here. You almost nerfed them out of the game. Maybe the only reason they didn't is because, you know, it's an internal balance thing with orcs and goblins. But you made them, you know, not move on a double and on a hit, which is fine. Maybe that was one. But the best thing you did was, change that so you couldn't spam them. Well, if you're going to spam them, you need to bring lots of night goblins. There's an example. If you just made that change, suddenly fanatics became a lot less. I mean, they're still, you do see armies skew into them, but not like they were initially with their little, you know, darts of 10 with firing 3 fanatics out and stuff. So you've got precedence. You sort of know what you're doing, but just limit the amount of times you choose how many levers to pull for the one issue. Because if you do that, I think you just won't be jumping back and forth like you are every errata, which I just touched on before. What you're doing with the Horde, close order, infantry bonuses, just to try work out the fact that infantry didn't get any bonuses initially. Like we saw that out of the gate. So why did you go to +2 and not keep it at +3? And plus have an outnumber bonus like 6. Again, you've got other additions. Learn from them. Learn from this. Bring it into version 2, hopefully. So we don't need 4 rules when 1 would suffice. Enough ranting, Gomo. Keep going. I don't know what the number of this is. This might be my 6th reason. I can't remember. Arcane journals, FAQs, erratas. It's awesome. I love the frequency. We got way more updates than we ever did in 8th. Totally. Will not complain, and actually like the frequency. Every 6 months, if you're listening to this video, you probably are, sorry. Games Workshop said every 6 months. That's what we've been getting. It's awesome. They've actually been quite good at it. It was January, and then it was June, and now it's going to be January. I think that's right. Much better than every 3 months where it just, I don't know, it feels like with 40K and AOS, they're rewriting entire army books every 3 months or something. We do not want that. But for version 2, keep the frequency. It's awesome. I just think hopefully with the success of the game, they can leverage digital rules better, because I think they do that, it's less of an issue to do all this. But right now you're ending up with, you know, so many books to run an army, which, you know, eventually that gets a bit painful to get into. That's not the biggest issue. So if you can digitize the rule part, and even better, we've talked about this before on our podcast, is bring back the little tournament rule book. Maybe release that every 6 months, cheap, and, you know, update the actual text in it. And, you know, I know, and, you know, if it's just the rules, people still buy the big book for all the artwork and all that. So I think it'd be worth doing. So hopefully give that a go. And it might fix up the mess of, how many different versions of books and FAQs and stuff we'll need. But technically, this is the good indicator of why we need a version 2, because it just needs to clean that up, you know. Another reason why I want version 2 out, though, is, and this will be exciting, a real launch box. I know we got Tomb Kings and Bretonnians right at the beginning, but I don't know. It wasn't the 2-player launch box that we get for all the other games, and also that we got from all the other editions before that. I think it's such a good value to new players to be able to buy a box with their mate, split it if they want, and then have almost a full army straight out of the bat. And it also shows off it's so good to release new miniature ranges that way, because you can throw in half an army for each side and just show off all the new models that you get. So I'm really hoping that, and they do it obviously with Horus Heresy, it's a little different, obviously, with Heresy being all the same thing. But I really hope for version 2 that we see a return to that and not just, the one big box with the rules and just one army, because I don't know, I just don't think that looks as good on the shelf, so to speak. And I think retail would like this type of sort of setup. So I really hope that that's the best way to launch second ed. And with that, I think what we might be seeing, and my conspiracy theory, which is totally wrong, but I'll say it anyway, is that second edition launch box will have something like Norska or Chaos in it. We're seeing some of the new Marauders, which I think are actual Norskins. We've seen Norska in the rulebook, and it'd be cool if they get rid of, they move towards an entire Norskan army that way, and Kislev as the sort of the Empire, the good guys in there as well. So you can have still a lot of reintroduced Empire military, state troopy guys that maybe can model up with extras for wolf coats and stuff. So for Kislev and Middenheim and all that. So you can sort of bring out some of that new infantry, plus bring out the, the bear riders and all that for Kislev, the wing lancers in plastic, throw out some more Norskan type or chaos type figures as well for the launch box, maybe a chaos giant in there or something like that. And you've got an awesome set for second edition, very thematic, moving towards the not Storm of Chaos, the Great War Against Chaos, but not fully, like we're not right there yet, but maybe 2 new ranges that, good versus evil, chaos versus the Empire. I think that'd be an awesome way to start version 2. So that's my rant for why I think we need a version 2 or second ed. Sorry, not version 2. I'm talking software there. As soon as possible. I know it's not coming yet. It's going to be at least a year or more away. But hopefully if Games Workshop will read this, see what my gripes are with the current version and where it's up to, can take some of that on board. And if you'd like to drop a comment of the things you think are good indicators of why we need it, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And keep painting, and I'll see you on the next Old World Fanatics video. Cheers, guys.